The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. We have more Tesla drama. Full disclosure, I own some Tesla stock, half as much as I used to. I told that story a couple weeks ago. I'm not regretting my choice to have sold half of my Tesla stock, actually. The latest is that Elon Musk has reached a deal with the SEC to settle a fraud charge that was brought against him. And under the terms of the settlement, he will be stepping down as the chairman of Tesla, but will remain as CEO of Tesla. Tesla and Musk will each pay $20 million, $40 million total. Musk has 45 days to resign as chairman, and he will be ineligible to be reelected as chairman for 3 years. So in 3 years, he might come back, although by then, who knows what will be going on with Tesla.
Yeah, that's a $40 million tweet then. I hope it was worth it to him. I mean, Trump, for example, says crazy things all the time, but I don't think a tweet has ever cost him that much money.
Trump University has, but his tweets so far have not cost him money. I genuinely don't know relative to when I sold half my Tesla stock, whether it's up or down now, because it has had, I don't really watch stocks day to day, as people who follow me know. So I know that there have been headlines about a bunch of declines. Earlier today, the stock was up like 15%. It's wildly swinging because of what's going on with Elon Musk. Was my decision to sell half of it a good move? I have no idea.
Yeah, I saw that it had declined about 30% since, I think, the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
But then if it regained 15% as of a couple hours ago, who knows where that's at now? Who knows where it'll close today? It's all over the place.
I'm actually more interested in the future of Tesla as a company because they are no longer as innovative in some areas as they were. In other words, a lot of the electric car stuff is now being done by other legacy automakers. And a lot of those legacy automakers have much more experience making cars than Tesla. And the way that seems to be reflected in Tesla vehicles, from what I've read, is that after a couple of years, you know how cars get a little rattly after some years and it's not as tight? It takes experience making cars to know how to make the car not rattle at 70,000 miles. And companies like Toyota, for example, know how to do that. As a new car maker, that's a critique I've heard from Tesla owners. I've never even ridden in a Tesla, and I certainly don't own one. That's a critique I've heard from Tesla owners, that because they are kind of a tech company more than a car company, although maybe they would dispute that, that after a few years, the cars really start to show their age in that way. So maybe Tesla is not as innovative now as it used to be there, but they're doing incredible stuff with batteries and a lot of other things. I'm genuinely unsure where Tesla will be in 3 years.
It makes it sound like you don't want to be an investor for the long term, right? I mean,
I'm
short
there.
term,
I'm there.
It's exciting because they're bringing all this new technology to the car industry, right? But if these cars can't hold up long term, do you want to be invested in them 10 years from now? Maybe not.
I guess we'll see. That's why I sold half my shares, and I'm now playing only with the house's money, and I do very little investing in individual stocks.
Yeah.
I don't know what
does Elon Musk strike you as a thoughtful guy? Because certainly he's a genius, and I know he knows engineering and all that sort of stuff, but I don't find him to be too well-spoken or be able to, put a stop to some of these catastrophes before they happen. Like
I think that's social anxiety.
On Joe Rogan, or tweeting out this thing about how he wanted Tesla to go private and to buy out all the shareholders at $420 a share. Like, you can prevent a lot of this stuff if you just take an extra few seconds to think about it. You
can. As far as the well-spoken stuff, I think he does have social anxiety and like a social awkwardness. That doesn't mean he has to be tweeting things that lead to $40 million fines. I agree with you there. But I think a lot of the way he presents himself is kind of like a social anxiety that he has. Let's talk about a coffee shop where you pay with your data. Shiru Cafe exists in Providence, Rhode Island. I read that there's one going to my former undergraduate college town of Amherst, Massachusetts as well. They look like a regular coffee shop. You've got coffee and laptops and hipster students, all that normal stuff. But if you don't have a college ID with you, you don't get your coffee. What they do is, Shiru Cafe is for college students and faculty members with an ID. The cafe allows professors to pay, but students need to provide their personal information in exchange for free coffee. And they have to give their name, phone number, email address, and majors. They also need to give birth date and professional interests, all on an online form. And then they're basically agreeing to receive information from sponsors who pay the cafe to contact the clientele through either logos, apps, ads on screens, mobile devices, signs, surveys, so on and so forth. So basically, you are selling your data instead of paying for the coffee. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just amazed that this is a sustainable business model. It's certainly an innovative idea. I guess it just goes to show that your data is more available to a company than the $2, $3 you would pay for that cup of coffee.
More valuable, not more available.
More valuable, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that because any one person's data is only worth, a fraction of a penny until you have very specific markets that want to reach them, which is how you end up getting certain keywords that on Google search, if you want to run ads on certain Google searches, you might have to pay 10 or 20 bucks a click because those are so valuable. And I guess if you know someone well enough and you can target them with valuable enough products, then all of a sudden people's data becomes worth a lot more.
Yeah, I would think that people would be more willing to do this and go to a coffee shop that operates in this way a year ago, before like the Facebook data breach and before they were under so much scrutiny by the public.
Sure.
But certainly some people are willing to trade that, especially when they want to get a caffeine kick. I mean, it seems like, hey, I'm a poor college student. I need the caffeine. This is a good way to do it, right?
Even their baristas are trained not only in making coffee, but also in discussing offers that are available through their corporate sponsors in conversation with the customers. Isn't that amazing?
I think Ross Clark, our interview guest today, would be disgusted by this.
Not
only do they not take cash, you have to offer up your data in exchange for that cup of coffee.
Speaking of data, this is a segue. We've got net neutrality news, and it's not great. The Trump administration said yesterday that they will be suing California to block what some experts have been describing as the toughest net neutrality law ever enacted in the United States. And this is going to be a big dollars legal showdown because California adopted its own rules. And we've been talking about a lot of states that have been discussing this. And what California's own rules require is that internet providers like AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon treat all web traffic equally. This is exactly what was repealed by Ajit Pai and Donald Trump's FCC. And there is now a lawsuit that is launching about this hours after it became the law. Senior justice officials from the Trump Justice Department say they're going to take this to court on the grounds that it is the federal government, not state leaders, who have the power to regulate net neutrality. The counter to that would be, number one, states' rights in general. This is that often found hypocrisy where the conservatives say it's all about states' rights, except when we want to enforce federal supremacy.
I think that a hypocrisy can exist on both sides, for sure. But historically, Republicans have been the ones who are all about states' rights, except for in this instance. And, if abortion was to be overturned by Kavanaugh's court, I think they would have that same difference of opinion, right, when states start to legalize abortion.
And it really ultimately will come down to the following debate. Is California passing certain laws a form of them doing regulation that would be under the purview of the FCC, or is it merely enforcing rules about how businesses operate in their state? That's really what it comes down to. And if it sounds like it would end up being determined by very specific legalese, that's probably what it's going to come down to, right? When California says, if you are AT&T or whoever and you want to do business in our state, here's the list of what you have to do. Are you doing something that only the FCC has the right to do in a regulatory framework? Or are you merely saying, in the same way that states have laws about insurance companies, states have laws about telecommunications companies? And ultimately, that's what it might come down to.
Yeah, and even if the court case doesn't go anywhere and California ultimately has to abide by the FCC's regulations at the federal level, it still draws attention to the issue of net neutrality. And that's a good thing because ever since the FCC decided to gut it, I feel like it's tailed off. Like, people don't pay attention to it.
I agree.
Too much.
That would be a much smaller win, right? So California, with 30 however many million people, responsible for billions upon billions of ISP revenue, passes really strict net neutrality laws. That's like a big win. The laws are repealed, but people are made aware that it's a win.
Turn it into a voting issue with the midterms coming up and all of this. And
it's a longer path.
Democrats take back power, we bring it up again. It's a long path, that's for sure.
It would be great if the regulations just stood up, is what I'm hoping for. I have no idea whether they will or won't. Plan for the rest of the week. I will not be in tomorrow because it is a travel day every 6 months. I go to our friend Mike Papantonio's conference out in Las Vegas. It is a week of not a week, it's, I guess, 2 days. It is a 2-day period, plus travel days bookending it, of progressive strategizing, learning about what's going on in terms of some of the major battles against corporate wrongdoing. It is hearing from Sam Cedar about the latest trials and tribulations that he is experiencing on the tech level with his studio. Not that it's that many, but he has some tech issues every once in a while.
There's a lot you're going to be learning at that conference.
Yes.
I hope you bring your notebook.
I'm bringing all sorts of stuff. You should see what I'm bringing. So tomorrow is my travel day. Very long flight, 6-hour flight during all daytime. Extraordinarily boring, but I'm going to do it. So Ben Dixon will be filling in for me, to the dismay and delight of different people in our audience. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I will be coming to you from Las Vegas, and then I will be back. And that's what it's going to be. Now, we are going to be, so previously, anytime I was remote, I was connecting via Skype. Mediocre, okay? But we knew how it would work, and it would work in a mediocre way. When I was away last month, we used the new HD video over IP system called the Teradek. And when it worked, it was like I was in the studio in terms of audio and video quality. It was an absolute dream, as Pat says. But because I was physically so far from the studio and on European internet networks, which are not as interconnected with East Coast US servers, we had some tech issues. This is going to be sort of like the first domestic test, which are much more common applications that we're going to be using than the international one. So I'm hoping that it goes way, way better.
We hypothesized that the connection issues had to do with you being in a different country.
Yes, and that's what Teradek said.
All the way across the Atlantic Ocean, which is kind of tough. So I'm hoping this test works out well, and this will be the paradigm that we use for the future.
It'll be a paradigm shift, I think I would be comfortable saying, if indeed we can get a steady and great connection at an even higher resolution. A bunch of people did say that my shot was kind of dark when I was remote last month, so I'm going to work on that a little bit, try to have a brighter shot. But beyond that, that's the plan, and I think it will be an extraordinary experience for everybody involved. And what am I talking about?
I know. I'm looking forward to it. I'd like you to leave right now, actually.
Yes, I will be leaving the studio immediately and messing with my equipment. Okay, so that's the plan, and then otherwise it'll be normal shows. I am actually curious when we're going to get news about Brett Kavanaugh because of the timing of the investigation and the federal holiday weekend that's going on, and senators' vacations and stuff like. I have no idea when we're going to learn.
Well, we're told that it's limited to a 1-week investigation. Yes. Maybe that started on. I guess it would start today, right? Or were they working on it over the weekend?
I have no idea. Is it also? Does when the investigation finishes, that doesn't necessarily mean you get the report with the findings right away.
Right. I think maybe they'll hold a press conference similar to
James
Comey press conference about Hillary's email.
Please don't do that. All right, so we will talk to you. We will have a show tomorrow, and I will talk to you on Wednesday.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.